This is actually carried by American soil, and it's a remnant from the wine industry. This is the grape pomace that's left at the very bottom. So it's this lovely chocolate brown color. Looks great. You're recycling a local product, and it's a beautiful. It looks fine. I mean, this looks as pretty as cocoa bean hulls. Anything this small, however, you need to know when you put it down. If you do 3 inches of it, the very small mulches will tend to trap moisture, and then they can grow fungus on them. So if you, I would be disinclined to do this on the entryway into my home. That would not be my first choice. For an entryway into my home, I would probably be looking at something like, this is treated fir, so 1/4 inch fir. Again, but I would never use treated fir as a mulch in a vegetable garden. So in a vegetable garden, I like to do some kind of a mulch that I can at the end of the season simply turn in. I don't want to have to fuss with it. But this is a very popular mulch, particularly in the landscaping industry, and that is because it's rough. It's very rough and shreddy. So these little particles hold together and they mat in. So this means that the maintenance guys don't have to come sweep up the sidewalk so often when they use this, and if they're using it on a slope, it tends to, again, to hold in together and stay there. This is a great mulch for ornamentals. It's a great mulch in a front yard. The reason that redwood and cedar are so very popular as mulches is they break down very slowly. And they break down slowly because of the chemicals that are in the bark. The bark on these trees are resistant to fungi and bacteria. They're the defense mechanism for the tree. So when you take that bark and shred it and put it down in the ground, it doesn't disappear in 1 year. The reason it doesn't disappear is the chemicals in that bark are resistant to decay. Now, if you're buying bark at 35 bucks a yard, it's really nice to not have it disappear in 1 year. Yes. You know, I mean, $35 a yard for something that vanishes is a little bit frustrating. So there are really good uses for this. If I had this on a vegetable bed, I would be very careful, because a lot of the little things, a lot of the chemicals that are in here are not going to be conducive to seedlings growing. Now, if I were using shredded redwood or bark, the bacteria that break down those big chunks of wood use a lot of nitrogen. So sometimes you'll hear people saying, well, if you're using mulch, you have to add extra nitrogen or it'll strip the nitrogen out of the soil. That's true if you're using something, especially like redwood or cedar, that takes a really long time to break down. So in my vegetable beds, I don't tend to use those kinds of mulches. In my vegetable beds, I tend to use compost as a mulch, or grass clippings. So grass clippings need to be dry, not wet. But if you can get grass clippings that have not been treated with weed and feed or any other kind of herbicide, preferably somebody who doesn't do anything nice to their lawn, you know, but mow it occasionally. But if you can get those grass clippings, spread them out in a driveway, dry them out, and then use those once they're dry as a mulch on top of the ground, they actually have a fairly high nitrogen content. So you will be feeding the soil. Eventually they break down rapidly. You're recycling a local product that doesn't have to go into landfill. I don't tend to do them green because they mat down. And then again, even at 3 or 4 inches thick, it gets slimy. If it starts to get slimy, you don't have enough air in there. But this is great, and it's free, and I like free. Leaves are wonderful. The thing you have to be a little bit careful with leaves, there tend to be a lot of things like sow bugs in leaves, and they love seedlings. So if you were to go collect leaves, I would recommend running them through a shredder. You can get little weed shredders that are just this big. Put your leaves in, it just breaks them down into smaller particle size. You can use oak leaves, you can use eucalyptus leaves, you can use every leaf except for walnut. Do not use walnut. The other things that can be used as mulches. I know people who use cardboard as mulch. They'll put cardboard down on the ground and then wood chips on top of that. You can do newspaper. Newspaper is very difficult to do in an attractive manner. But I cover it up with wood chips. So I tend to be very fond of mulches that I can, at the end of the season, turn in as compost. Straw works really well. If you're going to use hay, try and make sure you're getting weed-free hay. That can be really tricky to find. You can go to feed and grain stores and say you want only certified weed-free hay. Otherwise, I hate to tell you this, you may be inoculating your garden with 1,000,000,001 weed seeds, which you will spend the next 20 years trying to get rid of.